Okay.
What is up, YouTube? It's been a long time no see for Nerd After Hours. It's me and my co-host Carisso, and today we're talking She-Hulk and other things. And we have a cute cat, so you should like and subscribe for that
You
alone.
started recording. He starts walking away. It's like they know.
It's like they know.
Don't
They're
keep
like,
trying to
no, the
stop.
camera's rolling. Cece, my cat Cece did the
You
same thing this
butthead.
morning.
They both left me as soon as you saw how cute they were being, and she was giving her kisses and stuff. And as soon as you started recording, they both ran out of the room.
They're like, nope.
Butthead. You're both buttheads.
My cat Cece did the same thing. I was taking a picture of him sleeping, and I almost got the perfect thing, and then he snaps awake and looks at me. I'm like, you mother.
Now that I got my new phone, I can usually do live photos and get stuff of them really quick. But it's like they can even find ways to be too quick for live photos. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I know. Well, I guess we should address the audience later, because we could end up talking about cute animals for hours. We straight up could. Where today we're gonna be talking about She-Hulk. I think there's some other topics we're gonna bleed into, but for the most part, we're gonna start with She-Hulk, and then we're gonna go into where I think everything's gonna kind of tie into the same problem, but let's see. What I'm trying to see here. I'm trying to find the thing. I know I mentioned to you what all I wanted to talk about, and then I kind of forgot. Like the She-Hulk thing kind of took over because there was like a more serious topic.
Oh, you were talking about Starfire's actress getting harassment. I don't know if that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, Starlight
Kinda,
is the character's name.
what did I say?
Starfire. I think that's the
Oh,
that's the Teen
oopie.
Titans character.
Ooh, oopie. My bad.
Yeah, I just can't remember. Wait, maybe I'm in the wrong DMs. That's why. I need to go back to TikTok's DMs so I can remember all the topics. I know I should have done this before I started recording. That's okay. Shenanigans are funny.
I do the same thing. I should get better about writing things down because I always get annoyed later. So I'm like, oh, I forgot about this and that. And it's like, I never think to take notes on anything I do. But
I know, me too. I'm the worst at it. It's like I can't even
I
remember.
need
Like I really, literally cannot remember the DM like where we planned this week's thing. Anyway, whatever. It'll come to me later. Anyway, so today we're talking about She-Hulk because like that show's been getting so much hate online, and I've been seeing a lot of it on TikTok. So that's what the main thing we're gonna. Sorry about the technical difficulties, guys. All right, now we are talking about the hate She-Hulk's been seeing. So have you seen any of it online at all? Like, have you come across it?
To be honest, I try to make sure to have my palette very clean, especially when it comes to things like TikTok, because I'm not mentally well, as you know. So, sometimes if I'm bombarded with too much negativity, it overly affects me more than it would a normal person.
Yeah.
So mostly what I see is other people who will talk about the other people being jerk faces. And usually I get to be kind of free of like that kind of stuff directly on my timeline, luckily,
Right.
which for me, a good palette is like, yeah, because it's like I see this person, I know what to be prepared for. Like, oh, they're gonna talk about something dumb that's going on, what would you call them, social justice warriors or whatever the fuck could say. So I've seen a lot of that stuff. Mostly, the only thing I've seen at all is people being which I kind of get why it's like a valid criticism, but I think it's kind of silly. Like, she's not buff enough, because women can be buff, and I think they did make her buff. I just, I think they wanted to make her more, like, she's a lot bigger than her natural self and still bigger than most of the guys she's dated, but like, she's just not as big as the Hulk. I don't see why that's a problem. I think she still looks good, but maybe I'm not like I wasn't a She-Hulk fan before that.
Right.
I could give less of a damn. Whatever. It's kind of like a nothing burger. That's the only thing I've seen, like, the more PC crowd or whatever complain about. But the biggest thing that I've seen just overwhelming obsessive hate on is just the the twerking scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I eventually was like, maybe there's more context that I need to know. So I looked it up on YouTube. It's like less than a minute long, and it's not much of anything.
It's literally an end credit scene. It wasn't even really part of the episode. Like, I didn't even know it was in there.
No, that was the thing that confused me, because I went through and I was like, I missed that. So I was like, did I skip an episode? Because it gets confusing because I constantly go back and forth. Boki and I share the same Disney Plus account, and to be honest, I've never really cared much about using Disney Plus. But that's like one of the few shows I was kind of excited about. Every once in a while, there'll be like a few shows I'll care about watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't figure out, like, well, maybe I was looking at the wrong account because I wasn't sure if I was using like my little separate account or his at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, maybe I missed an episode, and I went and I rewatched the episode. I was like, no, it's not there, and I didn't. I was gonna ask you that if you knew where that scene was, because I watched the one with Megan Thee Stallion, and I thought that scene was so funny and just it's just goofy people having fun, you know?
Yeah, it was literally an end credit scene. Like, I didn't even see it. I saw it on YouTube. That's where I saw the end credit scene. Like, I didn't even see
But
it.
people were still so mad about it. I didn't get it.
Oh yeah,
it's just like girls. Maybe it's just because I'm a girl and I know how girls behave, and that's like such a fun, like doing things like that is something that girls do together when they're bonding. It's just meant to be goofy.
Yeah.
But I feel like people are mad. I don't know, anything where like a woman's owning her sexuality or doing it not for the attention of men maybe is the problem. I don't know. That's the best explanations I can come up with.
Okay. All right. So
but
I'm
yeah,
gonna share
I've seen a lot of that.
All right. This is the funniest comment I've seen. Is Stan Lee would be rolling in his grave if he saw this. And I'm like,
my god, yeah.
Like, do they forget that he literally wrote Stripperella? The superhero?
Stripperella. That's a name.
Yeah, he literally wrote a superhero that was also a stripper. Like, she literally had, like, as far as I've seen, like, from one, like, animation that was made about her, like, she literally got, like, Superman-like powers. And she's a stripper.
Wasn't, oh my goodness, what is the actress's name? She's got like bleached blonde hair, and was in Baywatch.
Yes, Pamela Anderson.
Didn't she do like a movie adaptation of that?
You know what? I think so. I wouldn't be shocked.
Of
I don't remember, but that sounds like a movie she would have done.
Because I remember that being like a big controversy point. People were bullying her for it, and it's just like meant to be something goofy and funny, and people were like, "This is stupid." But of course, like had to happen right around the same time that sex tape was leaked, and that was the only reason why I knew about it. Because I was a very small child and all that stuff was going on, so I didn't know about it, especially since I was, sheltered, homeschooled, and have access to the internet.
Yeah.
This past year or so, I kind of like information dumped because I thought the whole case was very interesting. But I'm pretty sure, she did like a live action version of it because I'd seen.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like,
I've never seen it. I think so.
A lot of men got very pissy about it for some reason. That was another thing where it's like.
Isn't it a comedy?
I think men just don't like it. I think it's supposed to be, but I don't know.
Well, like
it's
in the animation I saw, like it looked like, I believe it was like a monkey had hijacked a tank and was rummaging around through the city, and the tank's like running stuff over and stuff, right? And the monkey's just playing, right? And she stops the tank by walking over to the barrel of the big gun and super breaths into it, and it causes the monkey to fly out the hatch or whatever, and she catches it, and the general makes a blowjob joke, and then he makes a joke about spanking the monkey. And it's like,
oh my god.
Yeah, but and as she literally hands over this monkey who had hijacked who was just playing in a tank and had hijacked it by accident. And it was just like, so it's antics. It's just comedy. It's comedy with a what do you call it? With a sexual humor twist. That's all it was.
Oh my, Carolyn, I can't be having you do this. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna try to make sure the phone doesn't try to shut down as I'm readjusting it. I'm gonna unplug it for now. There we go. I highly doubt the battery will die. It usually lasts at least 4 hours. So
okay.
That way she doesn't have a way to move it. I want your attention, but I don't want you messing with the tripod. Me and I look at him. I'm gonna bussy me you just like I did your mom.
I just heard my cat somewhere in here. Ah, there he is.
You can see her shaved belly from where she had her surgery. She's all healed up now. She can never have a baby again. Never have a baby again. You're my eternal baby.
He's
gonna ignore you while you're recording. As soon as you shut it off, he's gonna run up on your lap and be cute.
He's being cute right now, and he's He's crying for me like he wants to be here, but he's fighting me. Come here, you little turd. Come say hi.
Oh, by the way, do you like my girl boss tank top? I
I
thought that was
do.
really great. It's
I
got a
do.
chain thing, and then she's holding a cat and a little heart balloon, and it says "Girl Boss," which is me.
I have my little
Oh my!
friend.
No, don't have an actual thing. Just screenshot this of the cats.
Yep, this is it. That's the YouTube video, guys. It's just Kitty. Loving on kitties. Mwah. All right, he's getting annoyed with me, so I'm gonna put him down. He's like, why? Why do you do this to me?
Oh my gosh, I'm getting covered in hair.
Same.
Your mother needs to switch something up in your diet because you are shedding like crazy.
I feel sorry for the cats who live in Texas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ponderos.
Uh,
Gosh, I can't believe he's such a cutie. She's like a little kitty.
What I was gonna say is like, back to the She-Hulk thing. Like, so that's like one of the other things is like I've been seeing people say like, "Oh my God, She-Hulk is ruining Marvel" or whatever. Like, literally, this is like, how hyperbolic are some of these comments?
See, the original Marvel still exists. It's just like a fun alternative for people like me who aren't interested in big action, but just kind of want to see what a normal person would do in that situation.
Right.
There's only one complaint I have about the show so far, and I feel like it's more a nitpicky, personal thing.
And that is.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I was getting the nitty gritty. Okay.
You say you had a nitpicky
so I don't
thing,
know
I was
how far you've gotten. Okay, sorry. Okay, well, I'm not talking about it. I just didn't know. I didn't want to like.
No, go ahead. Tell us your nitpick. I'm curious now.
Okay. So, a big plot in it, I don't know how far you've gotten into the show or not, is like, she eventually decides, with the help of a friend, to start online dating, which is always like a fun thing, you know, especially when it's like, it is something like a lot of, you know, women who are getting to their 30s and stuff, or just everybody gone through at some point, is kind of the dread of online dating and like the shitty options. And I was all for them establishing like ideas of shitty options because I feel like everybody can relate to that. But I just thought it was so unrealistic that she's supposed to be in like a big city area and she's like getting no matches until she sets up as She-Hulk. Like, I'm sorry, but men are desperate and they'd fuck a corn cob. You want me to believe that a perfectly attractive, successful woman isn't getting matches? Like, I could definitely see her getting more matches when she presents as She-Hulk because she's famous and She-Hulk cool. But like, I'm sorry, I'm probably half as attractive as that actress, and I was getting like 30 messages a day from guys desperately begging me to go on a date with them, and I live in the middle of fuck nowhere. So you're meaning to tell me that this gorgeous lawyer isn't getting any matches?
I think it
isn't getting anybody asking her out? Shut up.
Yeah, that would have made more sense if like maybe it was like Bruce Banner versus the Hulk. You know, in a dating app, that might have made more sense.
See, like, if it was a guy, I could find that believable, but no woman. You could be the ugliest, crustiest looking woman, and you'll still get a shit ton of people trying to ask you out. It doesn't matter because men are desperate. They're desperate as all hell.
Damn.
I'm sorry. I remember what it was like out there, and yes, it was very hard to find anything of quality or find somebody that I liked. But my God, did I have options. There was one time where I had to just like take a break from it because I was just like, it was exhausting. Like every other day I had a new date and it was just like too much. It was like trying to keep track of these names and it just felt like weird job interviewing. And it's like, I felt like a guy must have written that part of the show or something. I just felt really, and it doesn't matter that much. I know it's supposed to be hyperbolic. It's meant to be a goofy comedy. But it's just like, I was like, really? You really expect me to believe that? And the fact that, like, the guy that she does hook up with is all, like, disturbed when he sees her in her human form. Like, she's not. She's a very attractive woman. Like, nobody's going to be, like, that upset by seeing what she looks like when she's not green.
Yeah.
Like,
what? Like, in the comic books, like, she goes from, like a green supermodel to, like, this really cute nerd. So it's a win either way.
Yeah, like, no guy's ever like, oh, man, like, I'm sorry. Even when I was fucking bald, and fat, I still had guys wanting to hook up with me all the time. If bald, fat, nerdy me is getting guys up in my DMs every other day, you want me to expect Miss Successful Lawyer, who's got a shit ton of options because she's in a city area, isn't getting a million matches? You're lying. You're just lying. I understand why it's set up. It's meant to be funny. It's meant to make the joke of how hyperbolic and like extreme the change was, but it bothered me. Really, really bothered me because I was like, no, that is not any woman's experience. Shut up. You don't know.
You know what would have been really funny is if they had done that with like the Hulk, but it was the flip. Like if Bruce Banner got all the matches and the Hulk got Cusack. Dude, could you imagine? Now, hold on, hear me out. How mad do you think the Marvel haters would have been? Like the people who claim to be fans, but they aren't really, because because they're like Marvel's too woke because they've never read a Marvel comic ever, and they're just over here like, could you imagine? Because think about it, because Bruce Banner's the more attractive, appealing out of that when you think about it. Like, well, all right.
See, I know where you're coming from, but I'm going to disagree with you on this one.
Oh, you think the Hulk's the more...
Because women obviously generally don't care about looks as much as men do, because we're more emotionally attracted versus physically attracted.
Right.
Second, ladies love a tall guy, and he's tall.
Yeah.
And because of how extremely huge he is from the transition, the slong is giant. Women aren't going to be bouncing on that. They're going to be clawing at the nails to get a chance. They don't care if it's gross, grimy. It's their Beauty and the Beast fantasy, but in real life and without the hair.
Oh, no.
Am I wrong? Got me when I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong.
Oh, man. I was making a joke about the female gaze versus the male gaze, and you just came in and
But
wrecked that whole thing.
I gotta disagree with you here. I understand, but I think Hulk, at least like the Avengers version of Hulk, is something women like a lot, because like the actual actor himself, he does have that perfect, like when he's in his human form, he's got very much husband vibes, cute, nerdy, not like just that more.
Oh man, if you saw him like 10 years ago, like he could have made any of y'all swoon. Like, cause he's he's getting older now. He's got a lot more gray and a lot more wrinkles. But like, I mean, like when he was a young guy.
Oh yeah, he was a model.
Oh yeah, he was in tons of like rom-coms.
Rom-coms and stuff. Oh yeah. I love watching old rom-coms. Trust me, I've seen it all. I'm just saying what he looks like now.
Yeah.
More so. He has kind of that cute, nerdy, he's a scientist, he's a dad vibe. And then he also can be big buff monster. Those are the two spectrums that women love.
So basically what you're telling the whole world is Bruce Banner is the ultimate catch in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Because he's...
Listen, yeah. I mean, there's always going to be I think when you're a teenager, you're really going to go for the classic Loki because, like, oh, he's a bad boy and he's misunderstood. And blah, 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 blah. But once you get older, you realize Hulk is where it's at.
I love it. Oh man, I wonder how many nerds you're triggering right now with that commentary.
They can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong.
They're gonna be.
I've seen much more unintended Hulk and Black Widow PORN more than any other character thing, and that was when I was looking for it. It would just pop up. So when you're looking at regular art on Tumblr,
yeah. So
I'm just saying there's a market, and a lot of that stuff is made by women.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You know what?
I don't think that they could have ever made that a real ship, and it was really weird that they made it a ship and then ditched it. But I think they did that because they saw the amount. But I feel like it's like, no, people just wanted to see the porn of it. We don't actually care about this ship in real life,
But like, I don't know. It probably would have worked out for them because, like, honestly, and here's the reason I say that, because like she can't have kids, and having kids with the Hulk is dangerous, like health-wise. So, and she's a super soldier, so they probably would be fine as a couple, honestly, because like
I don't think it would have been bad. I felt like it was weird because it was never in the comments, but at the same time, it's like sometimes it's cool to make your own versions of things. When I first saw it, I didn't like it because I was always a big Winter Soldier and Black Widow person because I'd read the comics. But looking back now, I definitely see the merit, but it also like it's kind of cheesy and fanficky. And now that I'm older, I can kind of enjoy cheesy fanficky vibes. You know, I've really gotten into shows like I don't remember what it's called, that vampire lesbian show on Netflix. Like I can really get into that stuff because it's very nostalgic to me now.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it just I feel like I would have been okay with it if they stuck with it and doubled down on it. But the fact that they really like made it seem like this was going to be the new direction they went in with that movie, and then the very next movie is all like, "Yeah, we used to date." Like, huh? You're working with this woman every day, and then you just casually broke up. Why? Why?
Because he's on
Never
another planet.
explained.
That's the only explanation I got. It's because he was on another planet.
So, you never heard of long distance? You've never heard of, oh wow, I'm so sad that my boyfriend got transplanted to another planet without there being any warning. It was just so weird because they made it set up. Because I remember that was one thing they talked about. It's like, hey, you know, like don't worry about it. I can't have kids anyways. And I felt like, and they're both very attractive. And then they just, that whole situation. There's a reason why like I have I loved a lot of the original Marvel movies, but I have a hard time watching any of that midsection. Everybody else loves them, like the Avengers, the other stuff, but it's like it's hard for me because I just feel like it's so jumbled and it feels like it's getting made by completely different people in each new installment. It just drives me crazy.
That's because it literally
Anyways,
is.
That was
I'm just kidding.
You can feel the Disney dripping out of it in each movie because it feels like everything's just a trailer for the next movie they're coming out with.
Sometimes I think that sometimes like some of the movies do feel like filler to me a little bit. Like a lot of the Captain America movies felt like they were just fillers for Avengers movies.
Right. I loved the original Captain America. It was one of my favorite ones. It was one of the first movies I ever got to see in theaters. And
do you know how many times I watched the first Captain America movie in theaters?
I don't know. I didn't. I was literally 10 years old.
I watched it 4 times. Not even kidding. I took so many friends to see that movie.
I mean, they had the hot, 50 style girl with the big jugs and the red lips, plus a big beefy soldier who's nice. My goodness, my child self was going crazy because it was like, oh wow. I had like my original awakening was Batman, and then I saw Captain America, and it was like, oh man.
It was like it's like Steve Rogers. It's like, hey, I'm like Batman, only I'm a nice person.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was because I've always like, even when I was younger, I was always into the nice guys. I was always Team nice Luke, guys. And then it like made me mad because I was Team Luke, and then it's like, by the way, that's her brother, and I was like, fuck you. You established this is the better option, and then now you're trying to tell me I'm wrong and that they're related. I was always really into the nice boy aesthetic. I liked a good simp energy. And Captain America, he's beefy, he's strong, and he's a simp. Nice.
That explains our friendship altogether right now. Because I'm like the biggest cheerleader for my friends.
I love simp energy. That's like, if you're gonna go, you gotta go hard. I can't stand the aloof energy of, oh, I might, but I might not. There's a reason why I was always Team Jacob and not Team Edward, because it's just like I love Robert Pattinson, but like when I read the books, I don't like Edward at all. I can, especially Midnight Sun. His inner dialogue drives me crazy.
I've never read it, so I don't know. Like, I feel like that was an opportunity to really like fix all the creepiness about Edward, and I think she completely botched it. From what I've heard,
I feel like it felt like a nothing burger for me. It's literally the same story, but you get like more his inner monologue, and it just makes it a lot of it almost worse, honestly.
Yeah. That's what I keep hearing. I keep hearing like, instead of it like, you know, him being like a decent person on the inside, he's just kind of more creepy.
Well, he comes across as like a creepy old man who's creeping on like a 16, 17-year-old girl, and it really, like in the movies, I honestly, the only thing that makes Edward likable is Robert Pattinson, and he does a very good job of acting like a teenager trapped in time versus like a creepy old man watching them. But
so instead of an old man,
Edward's inner dialogue in the book
Yeah.
sounds just like a creepy old man being like, "Oh man,
Okay, so if we were
she's like a
comparing,
child, but I want to fuck her," and it's like, I don't
yeah,
like it. I don't like it at all, and I feel like most people wouldn't.
yeah.
Um,
So if I'm understanding this correctly, movie Edward is very much like a teenager stuck in time. So he
mhm.
thinks like a teenager, therefore he acts like a teenager. He's stuck that way, right?
Yeah, and
And
it comes across
then
as
book Edward is, from that book's perspective, really paints him as an old man trapped in a teenager's body.
yeah, yeah, like his inner dialogue, like like he constantly refers to his other classmates as children, and even infantilizes Bella a lot, and it really bothers me.
Yeah.
It's just creepy. It's like if you think she's so young, and just like it feels like all of his attraction is based off the fact that he wants to eat her, unless that
Mm-hmm.
like they go over stuff like him paying attention to the way that she's kind to a lot of other people and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But also a lot of it's just like I want to eat her. And I feel like he wouldn't have ever become attracted to her if it wasn't for the physicality of it.
Yeah.
Versus like with her and Jacob, it's much more based off of friendship and experience. And it felt like all of Edward and Bella's stuff is much more chemical and physical based and not heart based.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just me. I love a good there's a reason why When Harry Met Sally is absolutely my favorite, not only my favorite movie, but my favorite love story. You know, I love a good friendship, romance, things that actually have some kind of ground in it versus just, I thought pee big, it's just not interesting,
Right.
you know?
There's it. I see where your argument comes from that story, because it's like there's more history between her and Jacob, so you would think that Jacob had
Yeah.
a better shot at it. But
And it feels like Edward, yeah, well, I might send you this because I feel like you would find it really interesting. There's a TikToker I follow, and I was really happy when I refound her TikToks, who's very strongly Team Jacob, and I love it because she really goes in depth with a lot of the things I feel.
mm-hmm.
And it's really great to have somebody who knows better how to articulate it and really comes with the receipts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen her stuff. I don't remember the name. I could send you a video later, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just me personally what I like, but I don't think anybody else has to be the same way.
I think it's funny how we
like all of
segued
it's
into
of,
Twilight. It went from She-Hulk.
I'm sorry.
How did we?
I can go on any
It's okay. I know.
Twilight.
To be fair,
times.
To be fair, there is a lot of things in comic books that overlap with the Twilight series, to be honest. Like, let's be honest, those characters are not written like vampires. If you had said these guys are immortal superheroes and not vampires, it would have been the same story. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
Like, if they were a bunch of like, if we changed the story, I could rewrite Twilight tomorrow, change the names, change the backstory, and instead of vampires, they are irradiated humans from an asteroid who became immortal, and now we're into the science fiction realm. But they found a way to pass on their power or share their power, so that's how Bella becomes an immortal too. It'd be the same story, literally.
I'm gonna send you so many Twilight TikToks after this. You're gonna hate me.
Ooh, I have something to share. I know this is a really silly off-topic thing, but I think I don't know if I mentioned this to you. I had somebody request that I write a book about William, my vampire character on D&D.
You should do that. That would be good.
I would if I was, like, the only thing I like I mentioned to that person, because I did a video response, is I said I would totally write a book about him for you guys to read and write, or read and buy. But the thing is like, I have to figure out like what is Wizards of the Coast and what is like open source. Like, I can do dragons, werewolves, and vampires and people. That's not, they don't own the rights to that whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. But if I wanted to write a story about like the Warforged, or like the, you know what I mean, or a tabaxi or something like that, or is that specifically Wizards of the Coast, or is that like open source? Like, a tabaxi is actually a mythical being that exists in the real world, you know what I mean? Which, I mean, there are workarounds. Like, I could just say cat folk, and that could be everybody that's part cat, you know what I mean? Because there are different things in their world like that. Like you could be a were-tiger or a warehouse cat in the Dungeons and Dragons world, right? So I could just say cat folk just covers everybody, including tabaxis. You know what I mean? So you'd see some people who are part cat, like, or look like, human cat hybrids. Some people are like werewolves, like cats, you know what I mean? Like, or some people, are just like a talking cat, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I could literally just go that route with it if I wanted to. It's just like, you know what I mean? I just could, and I'd have to like really like figure out like, because the idea in my head is when I talk about the William character, like part of his backstory really does come across non-human people. That's why it's kind of
Mhm.
significant to think about it, because like he's a vampire who was born a Dampier who wasn't accepted by humans. So that's part of his backstory. So the people who do accept him for who he is are going to be people who aren't humans, elves,
Mhm.
dwarves, tabaxis, dragon folk. You know what I mean? Like these are the people who are going to accept him for who he is, more so than normal humans will, and the human people will be the ones who accept him by via his actions, because vampire equals run.
Yeah.
So that the point of that is like I'd have to like do some research and figure out what I could do and the workarounds. But like I just thought it was so cool that somebody actually asked me, "Hey, you should write a book about this character," and I'm like, I'm kind of tempted to do it. It'd be a lot of work, but I'm
Well, like
kind of
you already
tempted.
have a background in writing. That would be like a combination of two of your favorite hobbies put together.
Right? Or like yeah, like my new hobby meets my old one, because writing was something I've always been passionate about, like since high school. Like, did I ever tell you I wrote a Power Ranger fan fiction in high school?
Hmm.
I'm still proud of that. I
Yeah.
part of me actually also wants to like pick it back up and rewrite it and like use pictures from like the show and like use my new Photoshop skills. I just don't know where you would go
Mhm.
to post a fan fiction.
Tumblr.
Tumblr's where
I'd
you
really
post
get Tumblr. I think you would really. I think you would enjoy Tumblr.
make a whole Power Ranger fan fiction account where I just like tell a story. Is that
That's
something?
what I used to do. I was really big into Tumblr when I did the crossover stuff. I plan on eventually getting back into it.
Oh,
It's
speaking
just
of
annoying when
crossover.
you're starting fresh because you have to like retrain the algorithm into like what your interests and stuff are. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with TikTok and all that when you're getting a new one, and it's just once you get it to like where it knows you, it's great, but it's getting it to that point and it's frustrating. Cause yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really annoying thing about Tumblr. I don't know if they changed this, but like if you don't use it enough, it self deletes. So like
What?
I had a thing where when I was younger, I didn't have internet at the house, so I'd have to go to the library or something to use it. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
have to like wait till I could go to the library, and then I could upload the latest art and stuff that I made. And when I started public school, I didn't get to do that stuff as much because the majority of the time I was at school, and it'd been like I think a month or so, and I hadn't really gotten to be on it. So I was really excited. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the library, and I'm gonna finally get back on Tumblr. And it was like your Pitch and Elsa page has been self-deleted because you didn't use it for X amount of time. And I was like, and I've never been able to fully get into it because I was so upset about that. I had a lot of followers and friends, and I had my biggest thing. This might sound weird, but the biggest
Mm-hmm.
self pride I had is like a little teenager, pre-teenage, um, which I felt like it meant that I made it was when people plagiarized my art and
Mm-hmm.
just would put like a filter over it and then their initials and pretended it was theirs. Because I was like, my stuff is good enough that somebody else wants to pretend that it's theirs.
I
Somebody else
mean,
found it and decided to rip it off, and that I didn't even get mad. It was just like cool to me. Like, wow, somebody really liked my Jack Frost and Astrid edit or whatever it would be.
how
And some of
funny.
the stuff was really well done and everything. I wasted so much time on that. And I had to use all the old window. I didn't have like a Photoshop thing. I used Windows Paint, and I'd have to slowly cut it out and then smooth out the edges because I didn't have like a smooth edge thing. And I'd have to play with the lighting to make sure the lighting would match up before I added the images.
Mm-hmm.
And I got like more, but like looking back now, I would never do it because it's so many hours to invest in something so pointless.
Yeah.
But looking back at like some of the stuff I made, I was like, wow, that's actually really well done, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I
but yeah, I was really upset. I had a good following. There was another page thing I had. It was Rise of the Strange Tangled Dragons, and I had so many badges and stuff for my art, and I have no idea how to get back into that account. I probably also is self-deleted in some form. I don't even know if that website still exists. Our world doesn't exist anymore. I'm old. Um,
I was just saying, like, I don't really know where you go to do like fan fiction stuff. Even though I've always been interested in it, because like I have a crazy story for a Power Rangers thing. Like I had like, especially for the nostalgia folks, like for the people who like the original show, I'm like, oh, you want grown up Power Rangers? I got you, I got you, because I can do a grown up story with old characters and like rewrite them as like 30-year-olds. Okay, well how are they in their 30s and 40s? You know, wouldn't be that hard for me to do that, to tell that story. But anyway, I was gonna say because I was speaking on crossover. One of the things that since this video is supposed to be about mostly She-Hulk and Starlight, let's go ahead and talk about some hate that's crossed over from the Starlight world. I mentioned this to you before we were started recording, but for the audiences at home who don't know, the actress who plays Starlight from The Boys has been getting like this huge amount of hate online from Homelander fans, and it's like the strangest thing I have ever seen. Like, we're talking like even like as far as like death threats. It's insane. Like it's almost like and it's weird because it's like the people who are acting like Homelander's the good guy in that show. Like they completely it's also the same with the She-Hulk thing. It's like the people who are the maddest about these shows have completely missed the point or the plot or the history of these characters. It is like way over their head. Like in the She-Hulk's case, like people who are complaining, saying the show's not serious enough or whatever, like if you looked at an old She-Hulk comic, like she's the first one to do the breaking the fourth wall thing before Deadpool. She's the first one to do funny things, like, and be sexy and like own her sexuality. Like even in today's comics, like you know how you mentioned earlier, like people are complaining that she's too thin, that she's, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, like, you know, that she needs to be bulkier. Like even in today's comics, she still owns her sexuality. Like I saw a strip from a recent comic where she gets into a hot tub with the other Avengers and she's the only one in there that's actually naked. The rest of them are all in bathing suits. Like she don't give a nothing, flying nothing, and she's just sitting there like, and then like you see Thor, huzzah! That's literally in the comic. Like, he got excited. There's like a naked woman. And it's funny because it's like short-haired Thor with like one with the eye patch, and he's just excited that She-Hulk didn't bother. And then like, it's funny because like Captain America's like, oh no, like he's the only one being respectful, and like you got Tony Stark in there too, and he's just all like, now it's a party. And it had like Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, and Spider-Man in it. And I think Spider-Man's was also funny because I think like he was still wearing his mask and a bathing suit. Like that was it. Like he's wearing like a swimming trunks and a spider mask. Because like it's just funny. Sometimes Avengers comics have these really funny moments that are like, you know, like very like, oh, see, these are like real people. And and it's very much like the haters always forget that these characters are based off of like how real world people behave and the differences and all that stuff. Like a lot of these characters have trauma, they have issues, just like real people do, and that's why people love Marvel, because they tell a superhuman story from a real world person's perspective and how they would really act. And I think that this bothers those haters because they're like, you know, they're mad because these characters behave how they would probably really behave if they were real.
I feel like it's the Ben Shapiro effect.
Yeah.
Where it's like they want to just have a fantastic authority figure rather than somebody grounded. Because I remember that was a big thing, him being really upset with Batman because the creator dared to have any kind of critique on Batman or try to have him more dimensions to him because he wanted Batman to be the vigilante who beats up poor people and is cool and rich and slick, and this Batman was more than that, which is why I really liked it. It really took care of a lot of things that bothered me about the Batman character, as much as I loved it because I grew up with it. It was nostalgic. There was things I liked about it, but it was just, this and that, and it really addressed all that. And then you had Ben Shapiro throwing hissy fit about it, and I feel like that's a lot of the same attitude. My dad, I remember I would always hear him complain about it. I was like, I'm so sick of these new movies where it's like, they have to make the characters ground and stuff. Everybody's either just good or evil. I'm so sick of this gray stuff. And I'm just like, well,
that's how the real world is. We all exist in levels of gray.
Yeah. I definitely think, you know, there's extremes like you had Hitler versus I don't know, a puppy. Like, yes, there are extremes that exist, but like, let's be honest, most of us, like, I would like to think I try to be a good person, but there's still plenty of bad things I do. I still buy from McDonald's, and oftentimes will buy from fast fashion companies that are very corrupt. I try not to, but um,
Well,
most of us aren't as good as we should be.
Right. Well, also you have to remember, like, what's available to you. Also, when you have to take that stuff into a factor, like honestly, we shouldn't buy Hershey's chocolate, but when it's the only chocolate that's here,
that's a big thing. The Good Place does a really good job at analyzing that. It's like you can try to be good, but it's so hard to constantly, especially when the whole world is so messed up. It's hard to constantly be doing the very best. Like, obviously, I care about climate change, but I still need to drive to work in order to survive.
yeah.
And that's going to mean putting some form of carbon emissions. It's not obviously a huge net harm, but like we're all technically doing bad,
Yeah, so we all exist in the gray, and that's the thing that people forget.
Yeah, I think all of us kind of have something we should work on or try to find a ways to better ourselves, and you're never going to be perfect.
What? I am totally perfect. Who told you I wasn't perfect? Now I'm hashtag offended. I'm canceling you on Twitter.
My eyes.
Dun, dun, dun. I'm just kidding. We're funny.
I told the best joke at work recently.
Fire away.
Okay, so we were discussing, like, generally whenever I make sandwiches, I can always tell when an order comes in from another employee because they have a very particular way they like it, where they'll have, like, something really, like, a really weird combination that's very particular. And it's like, I always know, I know, a fellow employee ordered that. And when explaining that to one of the other people I was just kind of working with, because we were chit-chatting, I said something on the lines of, this is a weird combination, but, you always got to experiment. You never know, like, what's going to be good. And somebody else was walking by who didn't hear the beginning part and just said, oh, what are we experimenting with? And I said, your mom. And it was the best joke I've ever made in my life. And I'll remember that for the rest of my days. And because I'm usually very shy and awkward, and usually it's hard for anybody to get me to come out of my shell, the fact that I would just say something like that. Because people who know me know what my personality is.
That person's jaw just hit the
floor. But I'm usually quite filtered at work, so yeah, I was pretty proud of that joke because I just slipped right off. What are you experimenting with?
Your mom. You know what I find funny is that joke is so old and it's still funny. Like
it's never not funny. I'm sorry.
It's like I literally saw a TikToker today who was making fun of some alpha male, like, you know what I mean? Those gym bros who are like, if you don't look like me, you're a total bitch. Ugh! And they're like, they're like ripped because working out is their whole personality. And yeah, and he's just like, I can't even remember what the whole joke was. And he was all like, oh, what was that? Oh, by the way, your mom says hi.
I love saying things like that, especially because, like, most of the people I work with are dudes that are twice my size, right? Because I'm 5 foot.
Right.
So I literally have to get help when it comes to getting boxes and stuff because there's a lot of stuff that eventually people just started having me at, like, a different section of the store because it was getting ridiculous because it's like I had to get out a step ladder to get boxes and stuff because I physically cannot.
Yeah.
So to just randomly say something so off-colored when I'm, seen as like the non-crude innocent one, I think it kind of throws people off, and I think that's really funny.
I enjoy it.
I'm around people I actually know and like, I'm very much of a loudmouth, but
oh yeah,
otherwise I'm very socially anxious and hide in the corner.
No, and honestly that makes a lot of sense because a lot of us I think are like that. Like we're only us around our people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because, like, those are the people that we know that will accept us for who we are, and then there's the people we have to kind of censor ourselves. Like, for example, like if we walk into a church, like, let's face it, if I walk into a church, I'm not going to have my owl hanging out. It's going to be in there. Although I probably could, and it'd be fine, because, frankly, a lot of Christians are very ignorant, but if one of them looks close enough, they're going to see that little pentacle in the corner, and they're going to be like, demon! Ah! Get the holy water! And that shit stings when it hits your eyeballs. I'm just saying. They put salt in it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why it's holy.
That's crazy.
They put blessed salt and blessed oil.
I
in
put
the
salt
water.
in my fries, but that just means I'm fat. Doesn't mean I'm holy.
I don't know. I think if you throw
How
a
does it work
McDonald's
with
fry
water?
at a ghost, it would go, ah, that burns.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm.
I saw Supernatural. I know things.
And they need to make an episode of Supernatural where it's like they have to do an operation in a McDonald's, and they eventually are like throwing French fries at like these ghosts and demons because it's gonna
the
be
only
making
thing that has
salt
salt
from
on
them
it.
in the
Yeah.
store. I'd pay good money to watch that.
Well, it'd
And
have
then
to
they
be an
could use
animated
that
thing
whole
now.
scene to make McDonald's toys.
Oh my goodness, that'd be funny.
They need to be hiring me. I'm gonna reboot the
Supernatural series.
Supernatural series, and it's all gonna take place in the McDonald's parking lot.
It'd be fantastic. Oh my god, that'd be there. Instead of them like using credit card fraud, they happen to be McDonald's workers by day and Monster Hunters by night. Well, you know what? In this economy, it would be a more relatable show. I'll tell you that much.
We can't afford to save the world right now, so I guess we have to work at McDonald's while we're also hunting and slaying demons, as one does.
You're gonna have to have an episode where you'll have Sam and Dean in a picket line with the "Fight for 15" sign. Oh god.
Lord help us.
Oh. Of course, by the time that episode would be aired, it wouldn't make sense. They'd have to you do the fight for 27 or 32 or whatever. Make it more topical for the day. Oh god. That is sad. Anyway, back to the thing where we keep going on tangents.
I don't know. Well, everything interconnects,
Yeah, it does. Really, it does. But anyway, I was gonna say back to the Starlight thing. I feel sorry for that actress because she's such a cool person. You know what I mean? She's uber friendly. She goes to all the Comic Cons and shit, just like all the other boys, actors and actresses do. They're supposedly everybody who's met them says they're super friendly. Even the actor who plays Homelander doesn't approve of the behavior that's happening.
I feel like most people wouldn't, but
you would think. But I think I even saw something about him coming out and saying what the fuck, stop doing that. And he's literally the guy who plays Homelander, who they're all obsessed with. It makes zero sense. That is the happiest kitten on the planet right now.
Oh my gosh.
She's just this is
She
where
was just born yesterday.
Yeah, they grow up so fast.
Yeah.
Yesterday
people
she was...
need to not be into actors that aren't doing anything wrong. She agrees. She approves of this message. See, I feel like that would be really upsetting for me. I always think about that. Because part of me, I think it'd be really cool to, as an actor, play characters that maybe aren't the good guys, that are a bit more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like something like that would be really awful to deal with, where it's you would have to... I don't know, things when I see time period things where somebody's throwing around the N-word and stuff, I'm oh my gosh, I don't think I could do that. I feel I would be too emotionally distressed by pretending to be that mean. Mm-hmm. I had a hard time in high school when I was just playing a orphanage lady, because I didn't like the fact that I had to pretend that I didn't like kids. And anybody who knows me knows I'm the most baby crazy, love working with kids person. So the fact that I'm having to toss a kid across the stage was awful. I have to pretend I hate them. And, it was fun because I got to work with a bunch of the younger kids and teach them how to dance and stuff. But at the same time, it was
you just sparked a memory.
That was something that's obviously meant to be a joke. That was distressing to me. So I can't imagine having to play a character like Homelander or stuff and just trying to balance out the fact that you're just playing a character. But I feel it'd be so hard to deal with you personally being yeah, well, it's fine. They're supposed to be the villain, and then having a bunch of people be yeah, we like this character. I see people who come out of watching shows like BoJack Horseman thinking that this is supposed to be a good guy and you're supposed to relate to him, and it's no.
No, the other characters are the good guy. He's the self-destroying character.
Are you asleep?
She is
Girl,
cozy. She's just like, this is the best place ever.
what are you doing?
She's comfy.
Goofy bean girl. Goofy bean girl. She's just sprawled out. You can't see her very well because I'm wearing like a black shirt.
Oh, I can
And
see her
she's
just
got like
fine.
black fur. She's just
She's,
like
but she's purring away too, isn't she?
happy as a fucking clam.
Yep. I was gonna say you sparked a memory, by the way, when you were talking about being an actor, and it reminded me of something that I remember happening when I used to. Remember, I mentioned it before. I used to work at this Christian play in my small town.
Many a time.
Many a time. I'm gonna bring it up every time because it's my only acting experience. Anyway, I remember one year where we got so much like people were mad about this, where they had like the Satan character. They had multiple people playing the Satan character, right? And one of the tricks they do, is they have the main actor on the bottom part of the stage, right? And then they have another actor in the same costume on a different part of the stage, and we would use fireworks and make a poof noise. And the first actor on the top part of the bottom part of the stage, because it had three levels, or 3 or 4 levels. He would we'd have a smoke thing go off, and he would vanish in the smoke and then reappear on the other side. But it's a different, it's just the other actor stepped out in the costume in the same makeup for the devil, right? And that was something that's been there for years in this play. The big one is that they had him like on the top of like this tower portion of the play, so he'd be on the bottom, the most bottom part of the stage, and then he would poof, and basically the actor, all he did was like duck behind a boulder or whatever. And then you would hear another poof, and the other actor would just be mouthing the pre-recorded lines and he'd be doing the hand motions or whatever. Well, one year they decided to switch that because we also had like a little like phony mountain in the background. So instead of having him do that, we tried to do this thing where like the devil was like a shapeshifter. So the idea was like we had multiple actors and some had different costumes. Well, one year we had one that was a woman and it was kind of a scantily clad, almost bathing suit like costume. And I remember one year a bunch of like old people complained like out the wazoo about it. Like, oh I mean, God. That she had to go get like a townsperson role. She had to get downgraded to it because people were so mad that she was, she was still playing the devil. She was just playing one of the transformations that he had, and he had a few. He had one that was like a warrior in armor. He had another one that was her, and then of course he had the usual one where he had this weird looking halo thing. And they always experimented with his makeup. Like I remember one year it was just fire. Like they drew fire on his face, and that was his whole makeup. Then another one they drew, he had a red face, and he had like a guy liner. And another one they draw like all these weird, like they never did the same night. All they did is the only time that was the same was when they were doing like the other guys, the stunt guys' makeup. That's all they ever did. They made it match. That's it, and loosely matched at that, I might add. Like there were some nights where I could tell that like the lady just did it from memory, like she didn't take a picture or anything. She's like, and they were like the yellow dot was on the wrong eye or whatever. The audience didn't notice, but
if you're there,
yeah, if you were close enough, you saw the stuff was like arranged differently, and it was just kind of like, because also he's like, I don't know, 50 feet in the air, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when you're in the, because it was an outdoor theater, so when you're sitting in the audience, you can't really see, like you really couldn't see his face anyway, no matter what makeup they put on the guy, because the costume covered him from head to toe.
Oh.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. Like, he had this, like, hood thing he wore that covered his hair, and then they had, like, this red halo that was, like, sewed into this part of, like, where my bill on my hat is. It was the craziest thing. Anyway, you sparked that memory when you were talking about acting, about how people threw a hissy fit because there was a hot chick version of the devil. They also got like complaints from years ago this was actually something that was very popular.
But the brown face was okay to do.
But the right, the brown brown people face was okay, I guess. Fucking weirdos. Um,
But girl wears a bathing suit too far.
yeah, right, too far. Oh, here's another thing that they used to have that they got rid of. Like, okay, this was a popular thing they did. They got like three actors who were very thin, like very thin, very linky, and the devil used to have like these demons that would follow him around, and they were part of the tempting of Jesus during the desert scene. So they would follow him around and say his lines like they were like he was speaking through them, and that was the demons, right? And they all had like white faces that were skull-like and like hoods, like black hoods that were kind of pointed, and they would like walk around like spiders on the ground, and they were all creepy looking, right? But everybody, all the kids loved them, right? All the young people were like, "Oh, that's kind of neat. I like that." And then, of course, a bunch of old people complained and got rid of it. Said they're too scary. And it goes go figure. So the moral of the story is old people ruined anything that was positive about that play.
Which is how most things go.
Yeah. I remember like, oh yeah, I remember like when because I worked on multiple things at that play. I worked backstage as a what I think they call it a stagehand or something like that. Like basically all I did was move sets around, like when the lights went out when I wore all black, you know. Or I would turn on the fog machines when they were needed. And then I also worked in the ticket office one year because like there's not very many jobs in this small town, and working at this play was happened to be one of them. And I remember somebody actually walked up and complained. I remember reading this complaint that there were because a Muslim couple decided to come watch the show.
Oh.
Yeah, that was another thing that happened.
Wait, no, people complained about the fact that there was somebody
that was Middle Eastern that came to watch the show. Yes.
I thought you meant that there was a Muslim couple that came to watch it and they complained about it, and I was kind of ready to like hear what their complaint was. I'm like,
no,
oh,
it was
no. What was
the fact that they were kind. As far as I had any interaction with them, like I saw them a few times, waved, was nice. They were nice back. They were like, hi, they were friendly as hell. You know what I mean? Like I was actually in the booth when they bought their tickets. They were really nice. They paid full price and everything. They didn't complain about the price, which was an overpriced ticket, by the way. I must say that year they were overpriced as hell. Anyway, they got a nice front seat. They were like, "Oh, but we've heard good things about this play, so we're gonna come see it." And of course, Jesus is also a figure in the Muslim faith too. So, even though this was a Christian play, that doesn't mean they couldn't find some enjoyment out of it. So
yeah.
So they came to
still enjoy watching VeggieTales, and I'm a staunch atheist.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah.
A good story is a good story.
Exactly. Yeah. And this, like, it was like this. They just some old lady threw a hissy fit about it, and I'm like, sorry, ma'am. They bought a ticket. There's not anything we could do. Yeah, she was basically a Karen before Karens were a thing.
Well, we just didn't have a name for it back then. They've always been a thing. Just have the luckily we get to have little cameras we can take with us everywhere, so we can catch them in action more often.
Yeah, we were still like, I still had like a flip phone, or no, I didn't have a flip phone. I had like the precursor to the iPhone. It was like it still had the screen, it still had access to the internet, but we still had buttons.
Yeah, my sisters had those. I know what you mean.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was called, but yeah, it was like the.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It was like the precursor.
Phase.
Yeah, it wasn't a flip phone anymore, but it was like and it had like mine had a whole ass keypad, like I mean literally like on the keyboard, just mini.
It was like meant to be. Yeah, it was meant for texting. Yeah, that was really cool texting.
Mm-hmm. And then the iPhone came out and just killed everything.
Everyone's like, this is 1,000 times better. We're ditching this.
Yeah, pretty much. Buttons became a thing of the past.
Oh.
But yeah, like so that was you just sparked all those memories by talking about acting. Oh man, see, I have religious trauma too. I just
get you being a little more spicy.
Somewhat, like I mean, like obviously I didn't have to deal with any, some of the stuff that you ladies have had to deal with. Like my God, I've heard some horror stories on TikTok. My God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean some stuff is actually very similar. Like we still got the whole abstinence thing. Like I got that too, even though I was a guy. It was just expected more that if I broke the rules, it was going to happen because I'm a guy. That was the big difference. Like y'all got more scolded because y'all were expected to have more I don't know why, but
Women aren't supposed to enjoy sex. Sex is supposed to be something that's done to women, not with women.
you're right.
In the church and why there's so much of assault problems is because we're not seen as having that be something that we have control over, and that's a big problem. That was a big thing where I think also like my mother had a hard time understanding, whereas I think a lot of women in the church and stuff are with church men, so they haven't ever been able to experience an orgasm, so they don't know that sex can be really great for women because they're with uh, men who've never been taught
How to please
give,
the opposite
yeah.
sex. Yeah.
So women are like, I just don't get why the big thing is. And whenever I hear that, it's possible that they're asexual, but the more I'm around it, I notice it's all women in the same type of thing. So I'm like, oh, it's because you've never gotten a good dick before, and you don't know that it can be great, but you're with guys who don't, are going to complain that you're not wet instead of helping you get wet.
Right. Or there's also like the whole like oh, what was it like Jacqueline Glenn did a story about those two sisters on YouTube. I can't remember what they were called.
Oh, Bethany and
Yeah, yeah, something defined.
a girl defined.
That's it. That's it. I could not remember.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I remember Jacqueline Glenn was telling a story about how like they were talking about their husbands and how they said that they didn't find them attractive. And
I think that's a big problem. Is I'm all for I think that obviously like emotional compatibility and attraction is the most important thing in a relationship. But I also think physical attraction is very important. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be attracted or be compatible. Because I've had that before where there was like a guy I dated and it's like he was very attractive and everything, but I just for some reason we just didn't it just didn't it just and I couldn't fully tell you why. There was like a few things where just I don't know, for some reason we just didn't have we just did I don't know, we didn't like the same things, we didn't really mesh properly at all. And I think I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing if you mesh properly with somebody before
you tie
dating. Big thing Christians don't really ever get a chance most of the time to
experiment,
see what they like. And for some people, you might find your soulmate the first round of ever trying. And that's lucky, but let's be honest, it's not always realistic, especially when you're young.
For anybody, yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's just so much emphasis and shame around you live in the middle of buttfuck nowhere and you've got about 5 people to choose from that are age appropriate. It's pretty, it makes sense that the first people you ever meet, you might not find your soulmate. It's I just don't. I also think a lot of media puts way too much importance on romance, where it's the only way to be happy is if you find your compatible partner. It's that's not true. Generally,
Oh, and another thing, to connect this to the boys thing, Homelander is also kind of very strongly built into this American Christianity thing too. He's you better thank God that I exist, But he also what creeps me out about him? I'm sorry to go off topic. I know because we were
no, you're technically on topic again. Oh. I'm the one who's going off topic.
Sorry. I just it sparked because we were talking about it but that's also a big thing into it. He feels like he's not immortal like the rest of us, even though he very much is. He's just a human with powers, but he still acts he's they're nothing. They're human. I'm bro, you're human. You just happen to be able to be really strong and can shoot laser beams out your ass. It's anyway, sorry. It's just that tangent. I feel like he looks at himself like he's a Jesus figure or something. He's got a God complex, but he also talks like the Christian God made him this way. He wasn't built in a lab.
Yeah.
It's just that sparked that connection there because he also because you'll see things if you'll notice in the latest season. The Homelander fans also say things Jesus hates Starlight. They'll say shit they'll have signs like that. You know what I mean? Just like they have with Biden or anybody else. Jesus hates this. Yeah, exactly.
hates those gays. How dare they just be attracted to the same sex? Absolutely disgusting.
Oh no. And actually, and Homelander also it literally embodies that whole thing of America right there, because he doesn't like he hates gay people too. That's why he wanted to fight Maeve so much. It's why he wanted to like force her to be like in that final season. He like locks her up and literally threatens to knock her up, and that's all he's keeping her alive for. Like I know that might be a bit of a spoiler for you, sorry, but like he's because Maeve is super strong in a woman, so he wants to use her to make
Basically, they're Wonder Woman, but she's
right.
a lesbian.
Exactly, she's a lesbian. She doesn't like men, and he wants to use her. You know, and actually they dated. Actually, in the story, they dated for a little while, but
I only got to see some of the first season, so.
also like I've noticed, so like from what I've seen, because I haven't like honestly I kind of skip around a little bit to be honest with the boys because like it's because I find Homelander insufferable. I'll straight up say it. Homelander is the reason I can't stand him because like if I had superpowers, I would find an excuse to pick a fight with this guy if I existed in his world. I'd be like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of Homelander. I don't care if my superpowers suck. I'm gonna find a way to beat the crap out of Homelander. You know what I mean? Like he just pisses me off. And
Yeah.
I find him insufferable. He's a bully. He scares the other heroes. Like there's a scene I saw recently where he like assaults A-Train right there in the middle of the office building. Like he makes a joke about him getting fat cuz he's like depressed and he's drinking milkshakes all the time. And it's like because well, this is before because he had a heart condition. He got a heart condition from a drug he was taking to make him run faster, so he could stay the fastest man, basically. And then he got a heart condition from it, so he couldn't run as fast as he wanted to anymore. And Homelander basically like says, "Well, you're fucking useless, and now you're getting fat, and you don't run anymore." And you're useless to me. He's like basically, and he assaults him in front of everybody, and nobody says anything. And of course they wouldn't. Like I said, the dude got fucking laser eyes. Like, who's gonna stop Homelander? And I'm just over here thinking, like, man, if A-Train's one of the characters who probably could beat him in a fight. Honestly, just the super speed alone would be enough to like, knock him on his ass.
Mm-hmm.
But like, anyway, A-Train's never gonna be able to fight against him because from what I can see, it looks to me like A-Train is psychologically damaged. So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of social commentary like hidden in that show. Like, and all of it kind of like we can almost see our own trauma in some of these characters. Because we both grew up in religious trauma. And we can see how that affects like how Homelander like manipulates the public.
Yeah, I definitely noticed a lot of that of what I did watch of it, and I related to Starlight a lot, especially like from the beginning, because I definitely went through that process where it wasn't like an overnight thing of like not being a Christian anymore, of just like wanting to hold on to that and see the good in it, because it's just like all you've ever known, and like having to come to terms with how corrupt a lot of these leaders are and move past it. I thought that was really relatable, and like the fact that she doesn't see like the big deal of like premarital sex and stuff and everybody shaming,
Like, because she's America's sweetheart. She's not supposed to want to do the nasty without putting a ring on it or whatever.
Women aren't allowed to orgasm, and it's a real shame, and it's a real bullshit.
All I'm saying is in the super people's case, that might be for the best. That's a joke. That is a joke, for the record. I'm just saying, if you have an orgasm and, fireballs shoot out your ass, I mean, maybe you shouldn't be. maybe you should have a fire retardant room or something. Safe sex for superheroes involves a fire extinguisher. Stop me when I lie. Homelander finally yanks one off and oh shit, hole in my roof again. I'm going to hell.
That was a whole plot line in some of the Spider-Man comics, was how dangerous his sperm was, and him killing his girlfriend as he dared to whack one off in her, and now she's fucking dead.
Right, she got like cancer from his fucking Ejaculate.
That's Edward's whole problem. He shouldn't have come, and he didn't even think like, huh, maybe I have all these doctor degrees. Maybe I shouldn't like, you know, jizz off into my human girlfriend just in case it does have some kind of abilities or effects. You know, we haven't done this before. Nah, he just saw the WAP and just went dumb. Apparently, fucking killed Bella.
He was thinking with
All
his
for
dick.
a little.
It's like that song from the TikTok. I was thinking with my dick. Shit's dumb.
That's Edward all of New Moon. Not New Moon. What am I saying? Breaking Dawn. God.
Whatever. We don't know. We have no idea what he was doing in New Moon. He's
over with the gutter rats in Italy, going like this.
You gonna tell me he didn't have a vampire rebound chick? I think he did.
No,
we just don't
Edward's
know.
a virgin. Look at him.
You're right.
Look at Edward's face and tell me he's not a virgin. I always hear the thing of people trying to talk about like, oh, he must have had flings and stuff before Belle. I'm like, no, read the books. He was a perpetual virgin who just wasn't attracted to any women, and that's why Bella was so magical, because it was the first time he was ever attracted to anybody. Man was purely asexual until Bella came around.
That's a strange one. Like, and then of course, like when Bella gets over there, now he's like a wild animal. He's like always got to be up in there, you know. And I'm just basing that off of the movies and the books that I read. I didn't even read the one from his perspective. I'm just saying.
No,
you're right.
From his perspective, like there's this really hot blonde vampire who likes him, and he just like he wants to be able to, but just for some reason he's just not attracted, and it's like he's been around for this so long, and he just isn't interested in romance. There just isn't anybody he could, you know, be interested in.
Yeah.
And then just that's why it's such a big deal when he falls for Bella, and his whole family is so into it, is because it's like, wow, it's the first time we've ever seen Eddie Boy go after it, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely unrealistic, but I think that's part of the fun of Twilight, is just how ridiculous and over the top it is. You know, it doesn't have to be realistic. It's the thing about vampires. If you're going to say that apparently this 114-year-old man's never had a crush in his life, I don't care. If that's what you're going with, you know.
Yeah. You know, I actually wonder how many ace people are out there who are in like hetero relationships and sexual ones. And I don't just mean women, I mean men too, because it was expected of them, like in history. Because I feel like that's probably there's more of them than we know. You know what I mean? And they're
I've met a lot of people like that, where it's like a lot of women in the church. I always debate with that, because I always think like a lot of the women from my church are either probably gay or asexual from the way they talk. They're not really attracted or interested to their husband. They literally see sex as like a duty they have to do for their husband. And I was wondering,
how many men like have that same problem.
I haven't seen that myself. If any, I mean, I've seen some I've seen like the like public cases of men struggling with homosexuality or whatnot, but I haven't seen as much of the reverse in my own. But then again, I didn't have a lot of guys coming and talking to me about their sex life, their wives at the church.
Well, if I can talk a little bit on it, because as far as like what men are expected from the church, because I can talk on that one.
Yeah.
You know, I can talk on that. So I could see where an ace man might have feel those pressures, because you know, we're expected to be leaders, we're expected to be masculine, we're expected to figure out or know all the answers to all of our problems and everyone else's. You know, that was literally something the church tried to instill in me, is like, hey, you have to solve the world's problems. That's you know, you're supposed to be a leader because God said so. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah, men are also seen as hypersexual in the church too, to a point where it's like they can't control themselves and stuff. Yeah. That was one thing I was so hyper focused on. I remember when I was probably around the age of 12, and I was starting to hit puberty and I was starting to get boobs. It was all of a sudden like, you're allowed to wear tank tops around the house because your brother or one of his friends that are coming over might be tempted to look upon you in lust. And it was like really weird. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. It's summertime and it's 90 degrees out, and I was just trying to cool off, you know?
Yeah, I heard that story all over TikTok, like women saying like, hey, men are coming over, you need to get dressed up.
Oh yeah, that's really common. It's insane. Your own relatives and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really big thing.
It's batshit is what it is. I'll straight up say it. It's batshit crazy. Like, why the heck is like a child having to, to like.
Like, it's creepy because it's like your old crusty uncle shouldn't be attracted to you in the first place.
Agreed.
Be his problem, but I definitely, that's one thing that if I have a daughter, I would never make her. If there was any kind of thing where I was like, I noticed like some creepy older relative acting like he was attracted to her, looking at her inappropriately, I'd be kicking the guy out, not like telling my daughter to go put a sweater on. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's insane. Like, and like, but yeah, like you said, like men are expected, or like, it's like when it comes to sexuality, we're completely ignored in the equation almost. You know what I mean? Like they say, oh, don't look lustfully upon women, and then that's the end of the conversation. You know what I mean? There's no talk about self-control, at least in my experience.
Well, it's really weird because even in the Bible, like that should be such a big thing that's pointed at, is Jesus talking about like if you look at a woman with lust, you just pluck out your own eyes type thing.
Yeah. Like,
but
that
for
was
some
never
reason the
brought
church
up.
Approach.
Like, when I was in church, that was never brought up. I had to learn about that verse after the fact. Like, after I left, I learned about that verse.
Well, I remember that being talked about, but it'd be like something that'd be said in passing, but then still ignored. And it's like, well, you're still not supposed to, but you should still be kind to your brethren and cover up. And I remember that was like a big thing. It's just like how it's basically being nice. And like, I remember that like this young teen, it's like, well, aren't you going to feel bad if you tempt your sister's husbands or whatever? And it would just be so weird to me. So I'm just like,
you're
why
like,
would they
13. Why do I got to worry about that? Or whatever.
Yeah, literally, I was getting sexualized like at age 11. I remember that was one thing. There was one kid that I grew up with in the church, and I just happened to be like, I wore a little dress that was like had a tie around the neck style, and it was kind of low back. I was, I think, 11 or 12 at the time. I was very young. I wasn't even a teenager yet. And he was being creepy, and he kept touching my back. He said he liked the way it felt, instead of like his dad put him aside and saying, hey, that's creepy, that's inappropriate, you're making her uncomfortable, or you need to make sure to not be sexualizing your friends like that because she doesn't like it. He had his daughter take me upstairs and put a shirt over my dress because I was too distracting. And I was a little girl just trying to be comfortable in the summer heat.
Yeah. And it gets ridiculous.
Like your bare back is too sexually tempting, that was also big. Jeans are too slutty because it's too tight on your body and it shows your shape. It was just, yeah.
There was just no winning, honestly. Like, there was no winning this fight. Like, and I remember my classmates from school having to deal with some of this stuff. And even when I was conservative as a conservative person, I still was like, I still thought it was stupid, because I was all like, well, why can't I just think that they look hot and then leave it at that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to act. Right. Like, I can look at an attractive person and be like, oh wow, they're not wearing next to anything. Awesome. And that be just a thought.
Go back.
And then go back to doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Or like if I looked over and saw at a nude beach or a beach where that was allowed, right? And I'm going swimming, and I looked over and I see, the hottest lady on the planet, buck naked, going swimming, I can be like, nice, and then continue having the conversation with a friend or whatever. Why? Like,
that's
why?
It just, it's okay to like think somebody's attractive. It's when you are trying to dictate that it's their fault that you find them attractive. That's when it starts to be a problem.
It's like that creepy guy on TikTok from 2 years ago. Like, we saw. Remember that story? Like, there was that guy who started preaching at those girls in bikinis or whatever from like several years ago.
That was so creepy.
Yeah,
little teenager trying to enjoy them, like hanging out at the beach.
And he was older than I am, and I'm in my 30s. He's like, he was at least 35, 36, 37, somewhere in that ballpark. Almost 40.
I'm so glad they got that on video and exposed him, because that was so creepy.
And then he tried to defend himself.
I've seen that stuff all the time. I've seen that so often.
It's like, it's stupid. Like, we get it, bro. You thought they looked hot in the bikini. Why don't you just think that and keep it to yourself or something? Why do you gotta act on it? Fucking weirdo.
That's the big thing. In some ways, I can relate to a lot of people because, like, oh, I'm bisexual, so I understand, like, both perspectives and stuff. But it also frustrates me because, like, when guys talk like, oh, it's so hard. It's like, it frustrates me because there were so many times growing up where I would end up having crushes on other girls who were straight, and I knew it was never going to happen, and I had to get
Right.
over it. One, at the time, I had a lot of internal lies to, and it's like, oh well, you have to kind of hide that because that's like shameful. You're not supposed to like sex, and that kind of just turned. But as I got older, there was plenty of times where there would be girls that I thought were very pretty, and it's just like, instead of just being mad at them because I would be friend zoned or feeling like they had to accommodate me, I would just sort of, it's
Oh,
just like, it's not their fault that I'm attracted. It's just weird things like, oh, I can't like being mad that Stacy's wearing a bikini because I'm attracted. No, like,
yeah.
Stacy can be hot and exist, and
It's the
that's
entitlement.
fine.
You know what? Also,
Yeah,
that's another thing. Like, that's another thing. Like, to bring it back to the nerd stuff. Like, that's another thing that Homelander also exemplifies. He feels like he's entitled to it. He's got toxic masculinity to a T, and that stuff is also stuff that the church perpetuates in men too. We're like perpetuated to feel entitled to these things because, like, you're taught to cover up. We're not taught to just think those things and leave it alone like we
yeah.
should.
I
We're
don't think
we're
that's
we're, we're
something I had to get over. I used to
Mhm.
have so much shame growing up because you're literally taught to have thought crimes, if you
Yeah.
commit adultery, heart, and that's so messed up because I remember, especially when I was going through puberty and I'm dealing with all of these hormones and crap, and every time I would have a sexual thought or whatever, there's somebody I found attractive, I would have to be so ashamed and guilty all day because I had a very natural human impulse as a
Hmm.
15-year-old would. When I see a
Right.
pair of boobies, there's nothing wrong with your brain being like, oh, nice boobies, but for some reason, because you're taught that that's
Don't,
so
don't
not,
lie to
yeah.
us, Carissa. We all know what your brain went. Nice.
Now, because I've been taught to not be ashamed of myself, and to, it's, there's nothing wrong with having natural attraction and human impulses, but you just make sure you're not making that somebody else's problem.
Right. And like,
That's where the line is.
yeah. And you know what's funny is like I said, I keep bringing it back to I'm seeing so many more connections, like, because since we brought up the religious trauma stuff, to Homelander's behavior and the behavior that like the church encourages. Like, I'm like, damn, there's a lot more connection there than I thought. Because like,
Yeah.
he also shames people for their sexual activities. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, especially like the consensual ones. Like he like basically, he makes, comments about Maeve being a lesbian. You know what I mean? He like uses it as a weapon against her. Like that kind of thing. And I know, like, and I know it's gonna sound weird, but like the Deep, for example, in the later seasons, he sleeps with aquatic animals, which. But here's the thing: he can talk to those animals, and he gets consent from those animals, which is really creepy. But it is creepy. It does cross a line. But in the story though, like, they can consent and do consent. So like, he has a whole conversation with an octopus in like the last season, the latest season. Like, you know what I mean? He says, no, 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 the mood's gone. You know what I mean? And the octopus is making advances in him. At least that's what we're supposed to get from the audience. So the idea is like, you know, look, it's creepy. I'll give you that. It is fucking creepy. Creeps me the hell out. But like, if we're being honest, he got consent from, an adult animal. So, you know, which is kind of that's the whole argument about animals, right? That people, like, they can't consent, so it's just in his case they can because he can understand them, which is creepy, but and that's a really creepy way to
Yeah.
use your powers. But I'm just bringing up, like, Homelander still, gives him shit for consensual activities, is the point that I'm getting at. And he does it to everybody else too. Doesn't matter what they are or who they are. And to bring it back full circle, like, the church does that to everybody too. They're like, you're, you know, they're like, oh, we'll forgive you for non-consensual activities, but consensual ones you'll get shamed for.
Oh my gosh, yeah, all the time, especially when it comes to like, women get more shamed for the assaults that are done to them than the men who are assaulting them
Yeah, in the
get.
church, yeah,
It's
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 crazy.
insane. It's absolutely backwards and insane, and that was the biggest thing that made it so I couldn't have any connection to the church as I got older, because it's like once I understood the full gravity, it was just like, I couldn't fathom how somebody could think like that, and I saw it all the time. Where just
Yeah. And then
and,
now that I'm looking at the people like now because we know about this stuff. We grew up in the church. We already know about these behaviors. I am like, as a guy, I have to even to this day, I still have to unlearn behaviors I learned in the church, and it drives me crazy because it's like, oh, well, that's not a thought I want to have, or like, oh, that was wrong. I didn't even know that was wrong at the time. There's a lot of that happens because like the church tries to keep you ignorant. And then I look at the behaviors of these people who are mad about She-Hulk, who is also a character who owns her sexuality. Like, she truly
yeah,
owns it, to bring this all back full circle. You know what I mean? To bring it all back to what we're supposed to be talking about with She-Hulk. It's like, it's literally what they're giving her so much shit. And it's like, because she's this character who owns her sexuality, and I'm kind of wondering, like, it's half of these bros are all conservative, right? I'm like, man, I know exactly where you learned that shit. And think about it, like, everything that She-Hulk is getting criticized for, Deadpool's already done on screen, and nobody has said shit. Stop me when I lie. Breaking the fourth wall, Deadpool did it first on screen, and guess what? Nobody gave him shit for doing that. And then, of course, when everyone gets brought up that she did it first in the comic books, so that's why she's doing it, they still ignore it and say, no, she's copying Deadpool. And then, of course, like, he does weird shit, like talks about masturbating with a unicorn, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? Which I would argue is actually much more egregious than twerking.
right. Well, it's just like it's a scene of girls having fun and like play, like just goofing off together.
Right. But also, like, she owns her sexuality in the comic books. She
Like
walks
all
around naked and doesn't care.
I'm outing myself a little bit, but there was one time where Carolyn and I were goofing off and we were drinking, and I was showing because she didn't know how to twerk, and I was showing her how to do it. Like nobody was recording it or knew it, and
I think you told me this.
Like that's just something girls do.
Yeah.
I probably have at some point, but it's like that's just the kind of thing girls do. Like to me, that just looked like girl bonding time, goofing off. And plus, yeah, if you think that the character is attractive, you can enjoy being like, oh, look, nice booty.
Just like Straw Hat Goofy did on TikTok. He's like the big movie guy, and he's just all like, I don't know who those animators are, but they're doing the Lord's work right now. Just like, because that's what he's talking about with She-Hulk twerking.
If anything, like, it didn't come across as this, because they're like fully dressed. She even has like a baggy shirt going over her butt. Like, you're really not seeing, like, it just looked like girls goofing off and having fun together, and it was just
let's be honest. If this was a comic strip of this happening, they would have been in bikinis at a pool or something. Stop me when I lie.
Like if they'd maybe done that and like made it the centerpiece of the show, I might kind of get why people are like, oh, this is annoying. Like, oh, they're just making, and they didn't like let her ever show her personality, and they were just going out of their way to try to like sex her up. I could see like where that might get annoying, but it didn't really come across that way. Like he's like a fully dimensional character who also just happens to have
in that scenario, it would cross the line a little bit, because then it goes from woman empowerment over her sexuality to to just being a sex object.
A sex object.
Yeah.
There's a line there. And I think that it's always important to critique that. For me, I didn't see what the problem was. It just, a lot of it seemed silly, and the only people I saw mad about it were cringy dudes. Like, I've told you about, the guy who was upset about Black Panther existing and trans women in sports and stuff. I obviously don't keep in touch with him now, but I'm sure he's out there somewhere
bitching
cursing
about She-Hulk.
Yeah. I don't know. Then again, he did have a muscle fetish, so maybe he's really enjoying the show. I don't know.
I know I'm enjoying the show. She-Hulk can step on me any day she wants to.
we have that in common.
Yes!
I'm trying to shake your hand, but I can't. It's not there yet.
I had to go. I had to go to my left hand.
What's that mean? Like the guy's hands are like enfolding together, and it's like, and uniting against uniting on a like, She-Hulk is a hot, powerful, smart woman. Nothing wrong with enjoying a little bit of that.
Oh yeah.
Nothing wrong at all. I don't see a problem here.
And it's very on brand. Like literally, like she gets like naked all the time in the comic books, and
I love the line where she's just like, "I would kill for you, Megan Thee Stallion." It's just so.
And she's like, "Okay, did you dial it back?"
I always have the same energy when it comes to my friends, and I'm always that way with, girl. I don't know, it just very much felt like fun girl bonding time. Like, just and, uh,
Yeah. No, I hear
I'm just
you.
repeating myself now. Everything about the way it was done felt very real, genuine, and funny to me. I really enjoyed it myself.
Oh yeah, like and also like in the it's like here's the thing with like superheroes. Everybody likes to act like they're like bastions of like conservative culture, which I find hilarious. It's like they've never picked up a comic book. Like superheroes are fucking hoes, all right? A superhero has more in common with a sex worker than they do with a Christian in church. I'm going to tell you that right now. All of them. Name a superhero, they will have more in common. They have been naked somewhere they weren't supposed to be. All of them. They have slept
The only
with
one that
multiple
I'll
people.
say like at all fits that like mold at all is maybe Captain America. He's like the only one.
And even in the comics, he's a hoe too. Don't let him fool you. In the comic books, he a hoe too. Don't let him fool you. He is, he's gotten with a few of them. He just also like, you know, I'm just saying he's more of a hoe in the comics than he is in the MCU. I'm not.
Yeah, yeah.
At least the only difference is he actually dates the women that he sleeps with. That's the difference. That's it. He's still got multiple women under his belt. He's just like he's just like has relationships with them first.
No, I really think the only reason why people have any kind of problem with it is just because it's a woman. I really don't think people would care about a guy, hooking up or doing anything.
Oh, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. Because in Thor: Love and Thunder, we gotta really. All right, I'm gonna spoilers just in case because I don't know if you've seen that movie or not.
Yeah, I got to see it in theaters.
Okay, did you remember the end credit scene? How they introduced the new superhero that's gonna come into the MCU?
Oh yeah, Hercules.
Hercules, right? Well,
yeah.
We're gonna find out because Hercules and She-Hulk have a lot in common.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we're gonna have a character who is supposed to be the opposite of a toxic masculine person because he bats for both teams, so he's also a member of the LGBT.
Hell yeah! Fine, we need to get some real fucking representation up in here.
Yeah. That's the thing about, like, I don't know how far the MCU will take it, but in the comic books, he is a canon bisexual. He likes men too. And he also there's been a few comics where he has wrestled naked. Like, in the panels. Like, obviously, of course, you know how the comic books are, they always, like, find a way to hide the nether regions, but but he is also somebody who is a very naked person, just like She-Hulk is. In fact, they've also had many a fling. I just came across a strip recently where they had a fling and then she left him in the middle of a parking lot naked. Like she's like, I gotta go, and then like she just throws his clothes at him. He's still standing there, holding them big ass leather pants. Like, oh shit, I gotta put these on.
I think I might become a literary major then. Good reading to me.
Yeah, right. I'm just saying, like, like he's a character who's very, very similar to She-Hulk in that aspect. He's a very, like, and he's also, like, I mean, he doesn't feel the need to, like, he's so strong, right? But he doesn't use it as this, like, overpowering thing to other people. Like, you know what I mean? He's very friendly in a lot of his depictions, too. Like, he's kind of a goofball. Now, he's probably got a bit of a darker, more serious version because of how they're introducing him for the MCU. But I could bet you after a couple movies, he's going to match his more comic book counterpart. He's going to get all friendly and chummy with the other Avengers. And he's going to say shit like, huzzah! Like he does in the comic books all the time.
I'm excited.
I'm
excited for that. I didn't know that. I didn't have much reaction because, of course, I don't read the comics when that was introduced. I was just more annoyed that now Zeus is apparently still alive. I was like, oh, that's disappointing.
Well, fun fact about Hercules, in an alternate comic, like in an Elseworld story, him and Wolverine have a relationship. And guess who's the bottom? It's not Wolverine. It's not Wolverine. I'll tell you that right
now. My apologies.
The strong man's the guy who's the bottom. I mean, they're technically both men with super strength, but you get the point. Wolvie just has an overpowering presence, I guess. I've just pictured Hercules being like, "Huzzah! Climb on me, you short king."
Oh, that's right. I still always picture movie version. That's right. In the comics, he's supposed to be like
Oh.
5'3", isn't he?
Yeah, he's like my height. Like, yeah. Like
Oh, I always forget. Okay,
guy.
that makes it a lot more funny then. I'm expecting like a big. I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh yeah,
Like Hugh
and
Jackman,
Hercules is
all the
huge. Like
I never read the comics growing up. I had like the cartoon show and mostly just the live action movies. So I always forget that like his comic book counterpart is very different looking.
Oh yeah, like and Hercules is a big man. Like we're talking almost 7 feet tall, and you have this tiny 5 foot guy who's who's his partner in this alternate world comic. And then you have She-Hulk, who's like almost 10 feet tall. You know what I mean? And he's, you know what I mean? Like, and they're just, I'm telling you, Hercules just gets around. They're like, you want to talk about a superhero that's a hoe? That's Hercules is the hoe. I wonder if they're gonna make a Disney joke. They have to make some Disney jokes about it. Once they got him like thoroughly introduced, they got to make jokes about that movie. In the movies that he's involved in, they have to. They have to. If they don't, I'll be disappointed. They got to be like, oh yeah, your Hercules is real. Did you? And bring up like the Disney movie, and him being like, oh god, it's the worst interpretation of me. You know what I mean? It's got to happen. It'll be hilarious.
Have I ever gushed about Hercules to you, the Disney movie?
No, I haven't. But it's like,
oh my god, one of my absolute favorites. That movie as a kid was definitely should have been a big clue of like how I was going to end up. It was like my favorite. Also a big representation of like my favorite himbo and the sassy goth GF.
You were just like, God. Please just let me be the cream filling in this Oreo, please. Stop me when I lie. That's what you were thinking. You may not have been.
Like, the thing is, I always really enjoyed a great couple growing up. But like, even that, it's still those same stereotypes. I love you gotta love a strong, independent woman and a fucking jacked himbo who's dumb, bumbling, and willing to do anything for your affection.
And that's the thing is like everyone. I think it's one of the charms of both versions of Hercules. By the way, the Disney one and the comic book one is, the comic book version of him is also kind of like that, because he is a hero through and through. Like, you know what I mean? Like Hercules, he's not a very popular character in the Marvel universe, but he's still like he's a himbo is a great description of him there too. He's like a little more serious, I think, in the Marvel versus the Disney show, but like. Of course he is, because the Marvel always mixes a little bit of reality into their fiction. It's why they're so popular. But here's another one. Since we're on the She-Hulk topic again, and we're gonna don't worry guys, we're almost to the tail end of this episode. But I was gonna say one of the other things that I've noticed is there was a great point that was brought up by another TikToker whose name escapes me, but they were talking about how like. One of the critiques about She-Hulk, which is a stupid critique, is that her character is boring. Nobody knows who she is. Nobody cares about her. I don't know why we're making a show about her. That was a comment somebody said about her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this guy says, okay, interesting point. You know who also was a big loser in the Marvel comics, who they couldn't sell singles of? They showed the big three. Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. And you want to know why? Is because before the big Iron Man movie came out, they couldn't make solo comics of those guys and sell them. Those stories just didn't do well for like a decade. Spider-Man and X-Men were like the only ones that were doing any good, and the Avengers were just doing okay. And before the MCU. And oh, look at that. 3 big losers that are now big hits in the Marvel universe. It's hilarious. Like, it was a great counterpoint, you know what I mean? Like, it was like the ultimate, like, shut up, quit being a big baby, and just enjoy the show. Or don't watch it. Oh, did you also know that the She-Hulk got review bombed before the show even came out?
What do you mean by review bomb? Like people leaving a bunch of negative reviews? Or?
Yeah, on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes is a popular website that people use to gauge whether a movie is worth seeing. And
I know.
Yeah, but a bunch of conservatives. I just said that for the audience. I don't know if
Oh,
who's
okay.
watching.
Sorry. I thought you
I
were talking.
figured you probably knew. I just explained it just in case people who were may have come across this
Okay.
part of the
All right.
video didn't know. I was just saying that, like, yeah, before the show came out, even they got review bombed, and that's why it has a 49% approval rating.
That's so freaking. I'm sorry, but it's like you haven't. It hasn't come out. You haven't even seen it, and you're just like, oh yeah, this is bad. Trust me, guys. Don't go see it.
Yeah, and I can't help but think that this new recent hate wave has to be from conservatives who are mad there's a bunch of stories about strong women being released all at once. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Rings of Power yet, but everybody's that hates
Oh,
the
I'm
show is,
excited about that.
yeah, everybody that hates the show is bitching about Gadriel or whatever the elf's name. That's the chick. That's the uber
Oh,
powerful one. I can't remember her name. Galadriel or something like that.
I haven't seen. I didn't know it was a thing till I saw like a promo poster, and I was like, huh.
Yeah.
So, and I purposely kept myself ignorant because I love being surprised. I like not fully knowing what I'm in for when I go to watch something, so I'll purposely like abstain from any kind of feed. I didn't do well when it came to Batman because I was too excited and I watched every little teaser and stuff that came out of it.
Right.
But with some stuff I like, if I can resist the urge, I will
Yeah.
just not
It's the
feed
character.
into it. But
Yeah,
yeah.
the character is called Galadriel, and she's like the bitch. Okay, so in the Lord of the Rings universe, like she's like one of the most powerful warriors character or elf characters in the whole lore of the show, from the books, right? And they're mad because her young version or whatever is such a badass, and I'm like, dude, she's literally the toughest character in the book. Like in the OG book, there it goes right
You
back
just
to it.
can't always care about like what I don't know. I feel like people are certain groups of people are always going to just have dumb complaints, and sometimes like I really enjoy good discord and I love having discussions and critiquing stuff, but some people it's just like they're just going to be upset that woman do thing, and
Yeah.
I have to tune it out because it's just that's a nothing burger.
Yeah, I mean it's literally the same thing with it's like, I hate to say this, but I feel like we're kind of being a broken record right now because we've kind of had to have this conversation multiple times because we had to have the
It's
same
the same thing
yeah,
every time something comes out.
Star
It's
Wars,
like, oh,
Prey.
that oh no, black people are getting given roles, and it's like I'm so mad that the whole cast isn't as pasty as my grandma. And it's like I just after a while it's like who cares? Why are you so mad that like anything besides a straight cis white man is getting something? It's just like part of the thing that's so great about humanity, there's plenty of awful things, is just it's awesome how much variety there is, and everybody's so unique, and I love seeing the differences and seeing how everybody can coincide with each other and feed off of each other and create new things from that.
Right.
And it's just a weird thing of this group of people who just want nothing to ever change and everything to be exactly the same, and I just don't understand that because it's just I love just the unique vibrancy of life, and I don't know, it drives me crazy because people have to stomp at anything. It's like if you don't like pink hair, that's fine. You don't have to dye your hair pink, but stop harassing random TikTok girls about the fact that they chose to dye their hair pink. It just
Right.
let people live the way they want to live. It's none of your business, and if they're not hurting anybody, then why should you freaking care? If you don't like abortions, don't have an abortion. If you don't want to
Get gay married. Don't get gay married.
don't get married. You know, it's the same things over and over again, and it's like it drives me crazy because it's just.
I just am annoyed by it because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it seems to be a constant thing. And one of the other things I've been seeing on Facebook is that people are now, like, comparing these newer female heroes, right? And they're comparing them to, like, 80s and 90s ones. So the big ones that they compare them to are Sarah Connors from the Terminator universe. And, I think her name's Ripley from the Alien universe. I think the character.
Oh, I've never watched the movie, but I've seen like clips and stuff of it.
Yeah, I,
She looks cool, anyways.
yeah, I've seen the first Alien movie like years ago, mind you. I was probably a teenager when I watched it, and I haven't watched it since, so I don't remember a whole lot.
Uh-huh.
But like, they compare them to those, but I do remember the Terminator movie because I watched it so many times as a kid. You know what I mean? Because my parents let me watch Terminator at too young, early an age. So that one's fresh in my mind. But it's really funny because like a lot of the same arguments they make about these new characters, I'm like, you realize like the characters you're idolizing, you could make the same arguments. Like they say like, oh, these characters are untrained or these characters don't have flaws, and it's like, yes, they do. Clearly, they have. Most of them have like personality flaws because humans have personality flaws. We all do. Like, hello. It's like you realize both Carol Danvers and Tony Stark have a drinking problem, right? it's like they don't even get it. One of the other things is like, okay, they're untrained. Sarah Connors beat a robot that was specifically designed to kill multiple humans in a wartime scenario, and she beat that robot by running through like a crushing machine and just crushed it. Like, and she's a waitress. She had zero combat skills, and she beat this machine. And it's like they forgot that part. Like they only see Sarah Connor from Terminator 2, who's like learned about every gun in existence and is like trained from the off-screen training she got in between the two movies. You know what I mean? Uh-oh. I think you froze. Are you still there?
Okay, you're back now. It
Okay.
completely froze.
Yeah, it froze on my end too.
Okay, that was weird. I don't know why it did that.
I don't know.
I can see and hear you now, but it just kind of completely froze, and I was like,
Yeah. That's all right.
anyway.
We'll just use that as a sign that we need to wrap it up. So
I gotta pee like a racehorse too. I drank way too much water during our conversation, so.
well, do you want to have? Sorry, I just was pointing out that we have this reoccurring issue and this hypocrisy, and it's driving me crazy. That's like my
I
final
think that
point.
sometimes you just gotta tune that stuff out, and
Yeah.
it's okay. You know, not everything has to be for everyone, but just also let people live
Enjoy
and create
things.
art. Yeah.
Like, yeah, can we just enjoy
there's
things?
plenty that exist that maybe isn't my personal cup of tea, but I'm not going to go throwing a hissy fit and saying it shouldn't be allowed to exist.
Right. Like if you like, I don't really care for comedies all that much, to be brutally honest. Like I like stand up. I don't really care for comedy shows, but that doesn't mean like I should throw a hissy fit and say, well, this show wasn't made for me, so therefore it shouldn't exist.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, there's so much stuff like that. Like, I never really liked Pokemon growing up. I feel like I just didn't watch it as a kid, so now I can't get into it. But I'm not going to get mad because somebody's really passionate and really loves Pokemon. Like, ooh, it's great that somebody has something they enjoy that's innocent and fun. Like, who?
Right. I like Yu-Gi-Oh, and you don't like Yu-Gi-Oh, but I don't see you trying to say Yu-Gi-Oh shouldn't exist.
Crap about Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't understand it. I didn't grow up with it. I don't understand the lingo, but I'm not going to be offended that somebody else enjoys it. Like, that's so silly.
Yeah.
That's so silly. What, like, why can't you just be happy that somebody has something that they can have fun with?
I don't, and I don't, I don't like football, but you don't see me trying to say we shouldn't have football ever exist. Like,
I do. Football needs to be canceled because I personally don't like it. Therefore, and I feel like sports bros are too intense and violent, so therefore it has to be canceled for anybody and everybody who enjoys that.
I think you just gave me an idea how I'm going to start trolling these guys who say these dumb shit online. You know what I mean? I'm just going to say whatever it is they like, and I'm just going to say, well, it wasn't made for me, so it shouldn't exist. And just watch them lose their fucking minds. They'll be like, yeah, well, I don't like Star Wars because it wasn't made for me in my generation, so fuck you. The prequels are the best, and all of you can eat my shorts. You know what I mean? Just sit there and name, you know what I mean? Just because the prequels are now no longer in the ire of the Star Wars community because now there's a girl character that exists. And how dare there be a strong woman in the Star Wars universe that's a Jedi?
I didn't get. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, we could rant about this for hours.
I know it's the way, and it's like for me, I can have plenty of complaints about this stuff, but it always confuses me the things people do complain about. It's just always like, huh?
Or I'm just gonna
Like,
start
what are you talking
I'm just gonna start talking. One of the other things I've thought about doing to troll these people is just talking about how much I love the movie they're hating on, or the show they're hating on. Just like they're like, "Oh, this show sucks." I'm like, "That's really weird because I really like it. I think it's fun. Maybe you just aren't fun." Just saying like shit like that. Go back to church if you don't like fun. God. I'm just gonna hate on the church too while I'm at it. Fuck it.
Who can stop me? Nope. I'm so powerful.
I'm literally a god in human form. Oh shit, I shouldn't say that. I might sound like Homelander. Fuck. Dun dun dun. All right. Do you have anything else you want to say before we close this video out?
I don't think so.
All right.
I'm good.
Well,
I feel like I keep just going around in circles because it's like I'm still mad about it, so I'm gonna keep saying it.
Right.
And it's sad.
All right, guys. Well, if you made it to this far in the video, remember to, as it says in the corner there, like and subscribe. And me and Carissa will hopefully see you in the next one, and hopefully that will be sooner rather than later because we need to chat more. Peace.